The Alpha Male. Let's get into these sports with our favorite sports reporter. Turn it all the way up.
Everybody, listen up. Everybody, stop what you're doing. And listen to
The Alpha Male.
What's happening? What's going on? What's up, everybody? Y'all know what time it is. It is me. He is I, and I am him. I'm he that they call the Alpha Male. I'm getting myself situated, on Instagram right now, getting all my friends and family to check in with me. All my folks here. What's happening, everybody? It's Monday. It's the beginning of the week, and I am excited to sit here and talk to y'all because we had a great weekend. We had a great weekend of sports. Let me go ahead and take this imagery off of my. There we go. How you doing? You see me on the YouTube? Make sure you guys tap in with me on YouTube. It's AlphaMale Sports, all one word. AlphaMale Sports, all one word. You guys can also check me out on my personal Instagram, radio, the number 6_Raheem. I got a couple people right now on my live talking with me, chatting with me, so I'll be able to tap in with you guys there. I'll also be able to chat with you guys here on my YouTube channel. So make sure that you guys stick with me because we're going through a lot today, okay? We are going through a lot. Make sure you check me on my Instagram as well, AlphaMale Sports, all one word. AlphaMale Sports, all one word. And you know what? Now that I'm in the mentioning mood, because I've been doing this for a good little minute, and major shout out to me and my wife, man. We produce a pretty dope podcast. I think it's pretty dope. Make sure you guys follow us on Date Night with Walton Ray, Date Night _Walton Ray on our Instagram page, man. We do a lot of good stuff, a lot of fun things, a lot of fun topics, interesting stuff that we talk about. That's what me and her talk about. And we often talk about sports as well. I'm not going to hold you. We often talk about sports, and talking is something putting it lightly. I'm just going to be honest with you. We often yell from time to time. We often yell. We often argue from time to time. But that's how that works. Like I said, just to give you guys a quick graphic of it, this is what we do. Date Night with Walton Ray. Make sure y'all check us out. I mentioned that because I ain't gonna front. Before I got on the show, we was talking about Terrell Owens and he had been talking about getting back into the league. And I will say, she was the first one to mention that to me. She was like, I think he could play again. And I was like, that's crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy, girl. You're crazy. There's no way that this almost 50-something-year-old man can play in the NFL again. But he's attempting to. I still think it's crazy, but physically, the guy can do it. The guy can potentially still get it done. So, I'd be crazy to say that it's impossible, though it has not happened yet. He would be the first of his kind, the very first NFL Hall of Famer to not only attempt to come back, but actually come back. I don't know. It's a possibility. Nonetheless, I still don't think it. I don't think it's sensible in his regard. But that's beside the point. We're talking about a lot of good stuff today. A lot of things that happened over the weekend. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to work with a pretty reputable HBCU sports brand here in the city and around the nation. Shouts out to Tolly Carr. Tolly Carr was a pretty good dude, man. I met him over the week, man. Spoke with him while I was on air at News and Talk 1380 WAOK. And then after that, it formulated into something I think is going to be a pretty good relationship. You understand? I think it's going to be pretty cool working with the guy. And I'm pretty excited. He called me, gave me an opportunity to go and actually be a part of, not even view, but be a part of the Morehouse and Clark Atlanta rivalry, the basketball rivalry. It is a rivalry nonetheless, guys. I'm telling you, if you have never been to Clark Atlanta and Morehouse playing against each other, you missed it. Go to my Instagram and check out the stories that I put out because it was phenomenal. It went down to the wire. Clark Atlanta was the underdog. They were the outstanding underdog. Morehouse came into the contest 7-8. They had recently just lost to Howard in Howard on MLK Day. And then Clark, of course, I think they only had about 3 wins. They were 3-9 or something like that. But eerily so, they were literally right next to each other in the conference. And Clark Atlanta, I'm just going to put it plainly, they came out with a mission. They were defensive. They were aggressive. Their defense was stifling. They didn't let Morehouse just get off any easy shots. They limited them to under 5 3-pointers made within the game. Now Morehouse definitely tried to take their shots, but didn't do a well job. Shouts out to their head coach. I was able to work with him prior to him becoming a head coach. I remember when he was just an assistant with the team, and now he is the head coach, who was a former player as well. And I mean, all in all, just a great experience. And shouts out to Tali Carr. Shouts out to HBCU Game Day. I'm looking forward to working with them in the future, and you guys will definitely see the remnants of that and the benefits of that. And again, I precluded that and brought that up because we in the HBCU space need to address some of the hot takes and inflammatory speech that people inside and outside of the culture are like throwing out. That's just being completely honest. I believe we have to address this head on, simply because it's not fair. And I'm wearing my Benedict College, paraphernalia, just a simple t-shirt. But it's not fair. It's totally not fair. Some of the flack that we get, it's not fair. Some of the just the outlandish stories that we hear. Outlandish stories that we hear. One, for instance, that I think not too many people heard, but definitely has. I really want to play this for you guys because it was ridiculous to hear not only how inflammatory this type of speech is, but it's a downright freaking lie.
Go to the school also.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people don't know that it's killings on the campus.
Oh, wow.
Every few months. Yeah, they don't know that. People are breaking in the locker rooms, stealing from the students. So it's kind of like my dad gives this much back to the community, but it's like, what is the community giving?
And he has his own health issues, and he needs a facility
Yes.
that will accommodate him.
So who you all are listening to, that was Deandra Sanders. Deandra Sanders. And Deandra Sanders, of course, is the eldest daughter of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. And she was on a podcast, and the question was asked to her about her father leaving Jackson State. The question was about why he left and the reasons he left and what ultimately led to him leaving Jackson. And I mean, what she said was ridiculously inflammatory, outrageously stupid. And yes, I say stupid with all caps, because you would have never been to Jackson had it not been for your father. So you would have never known any of that. And then after she was addressed by some of the inflammatory words that she said, then she apologizes, I think.
First, I would like to apologize for a comment that I recently made concerning the JSU murders. I do feel like that I over-exaggerated due to the fact that every time I did come to town, I was made aware of shootings, murders, robberies on campus, around campus, and in the city.
And I'm going to just turn it down from there because at this point, there's nothing else to hear from her because she calls it the JSU murders. First of all, I look up, air quote, JSU murders. There are none. The only one that they reference was due to a protest back in the 70s where only 2 students were killed. As far as break-ins, no one needed you to even say any of this. Your father was the first and only person to initiate and say those things, and that was in his first season. And it was things that was taken from his office, but all of those things were returned. Again, you said that the public was not made aware of. We didn't need to know none of that. For those that live in Jackson, they would know about it. And then if there were so many murders, because per your sources, how you say it or how you make it clear, you said that there are murders on campus every other week. If I'm not mistaken, every other week is like something happened this week, skip a week, and then it's the next week. So again, I believe we in the HBCU space, those who've been to HBCUs, those who are actively in HBCU life, culture, things of that such, if you're teaching, if you're coaching, if you're administering, if you're mentoring, or if you are just an alumni who just love HBCUs, We have to address this type of stuff. Simple and plain. Because no one gets hurt other than the HBCU. No one gets hurt other than the school itself. And we go to the elephant in the room. We talk about the issue at hand. Ed Reed, who is no longer the head coach of the Bethune-Cookman University football team, the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats.
Yeah, I curse. And y'all done heard curse words before. They got parents in here. You know I don't want to leave. And like I told you, I want all these recruits. But they got some corrupt people in this world, some evil people that don't care about kids like I do. So I want y'all to hear the truth from me. I ain't withdrawing my name. I got the receipts. They got all kinds of stuff going on around here, hoarding these buildings with nothing but trash in them. You understand me? And Dion was right. And I know I'm right. And they got some people in here who be snitching to their ass. And I work amongst Judas as Jesus walked with him. And I ain't have a problem with it. Because even Jesus prevailed.
So, of course, what you just heard just now was Ed Reed speaking to the players after the news had dropped. And this happened on Saturday. This happened Saturday afternoon. I was actually at the Morehouse versus Clark Atlanta game. And that happened literally while I was reporting. Got the news on my phone. And I was like, goodness gracious, that happened? Wow. And I went up and said again, you want to make sure that the ink is dry before you start to pop off. You want to make sure that your contract is solidified, because Ed Reed is speaking to, saying as to whether or not he was withdrawing his name from the consideration of being a head coach. No, we get that you weren't withdrawing your name. What they said and what is going on is that you are, again, we're not going to ratify it. We're not going to give you the money. We're not going to solidify and legitimize your contract because of that. And you said yourself, Ed Reed, that you might as well go home because you hadn't signed your contract yet. So again, you essentially put your foot in your mouth. I hate that you did so. I wish you didn't. I was excited when the news came out when you began to get the job or you had the job. You know, I spoke out about this when it originally happened in regards to the comments that are being made on social media when he was driving through campus and he was talking about, hey, here we go. I'm picking up trash with the team, X, Y, and Z. I originally started to talk about this back then. And originally it was back about a week or so ago on the Rashad Ritchie Morning Show. And my stance hasn't changed about Ed Reed. What Ed Reed was trying to say and the way he said is two totally different things. I too understand some of the frustrations. I do feel the frustrations that you faced with as an HBCU student, as an HBCU player, as an HBCU alumni. I get it. But I was taught that there was that wasn't an excuse. If you didn't get away, you didn't go complaining to the administration. You didn't go pointing fingers at the cafeteria because the chicken was undercooked. You found a way. I'm exaggerating with the chicken thing. But nonetheless, what frustrates me ultimately is that Ed Reed jumped out there. He jumped out really fast and he kind of made an ass of himself, just to be completely honest. I believe, honestly, he should have known more clearly what he was getting himself into when you, and that's just being completely, when you are getting a job at an HBCU, no, it's not glitz and glamour. No, it's not for the money for some, especially the guys in his case, guys in Coach Prime's case, Hugh Jackson's case, Eddie George's case, Eddie Robinson Jr.'s case. It's not that you're getting the money. The money isn't the thing. But I really felt like Ed Reed should have known what he was getting himself into. Now finding out that some state governments, the United States government, are robbing HBCUs of grant money that is owed to the school. Let's dig a little bit deeper to that, right? Here in my own state, the state of Georgia, In February of 2022, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp received a letter from 6 different United States House members and House senators, demanding that the state of Georgia address the outrageous, not small, not minuscule, not miniature, outrageous gaps in funding for schools in land grant university systems that shortchanged HBCUs. Right? The state of Tennessee has withheld money for decades that is owed to Tennessee State University. So much so that the state has to pay it in installments. You ask, how much money is it? It's $500 million. $500 million. Do you know what Tennessee State University could do with $500 million? My brother-in-law and sister both met each other on those campuses. They were on the campus. They know what it was like. And just to be completely honest, Tennessee State was like heaven compared to Benedict at the time. It was like heaven compared to Benedict. So again, I wish Ed Reed had done his research. I wish Ed Reed knew more. Oh, but it gets deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. It goes so much deeper than that. Because, of course, as an HBCU, we're not going to just sit back and just allow you to say and do as you please without us addressing or saying yay or nay to certain things. So Bethune-Cookman, of course, they let out a statement. Bethune-Cookman University was founded with core guide principles centered around integrity, accountability, and mutual respect for others. These guiding principles have and will continue to weigh heavily on all decisions made that impact our university. While we appreciated the initial interest of our football program displayed by Mr. Reed, during the course of recent weeks, we are also mindful of the qualities and attributes that must be exhibited by our institutions' personnel during what has been uniquely challenging times for our campus as we recover from not one, but 2 hurricanes during the past fall semester. So again, Ed Reed is piggybacking off of what Coach Prime said, because yes, he went off and said Coach Prime was right. Coach Prime was right. And then he just divulged into this weird rant talking about how there's trash everywhere, how there are abandoned buildings on campus being hoarded by administration, filled with trash. And let's hear Coach Prime, because he did join the live of Ed Reed, his long diatribe to the players.
Hey, I love you, man. You know that, right?
Yep.
We talked about this. We talked about this. We know the structure. We know the order. We know how it was going to play out. And you've been there fighting. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're going through. You got to understand, Ed, God has a time and a place for you, my brother. And I know your heart. I know everything that's going on inside of you. You know, I know you like a book. And I know how you feel about them kids. And I know you do not want to leave those kids.
So I want to say that Coach Prime is a master. He's an artist at wordplay. He's a master at being able to say and articulate and elaborate, or even soothe the situation without having to give a specific stance. If you get what I'm saying. When you hear Coach Prime talking to Ed Reed, he only just said, "Hey, we talked about this. We talked about this." I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Prime had said, "Hey, Ed, you might be wrong about this, my guy. No one told you to go out and parrot what I had said." Because Coach Prime gave it at least a year or so before he did something. Coach Prime made sure that the ink was dry before he said anything. Coach Prime had just got back from a game before having to, air quotes, speak his mind to something or an atrocity that has happened to him in regards to the HBCU space, the schooling, and things of that such. Ed Reed didn't wait. He couldn't wait. And prior to getting on here, I was speaking on my live on Instagram to one of my coaches who attended an HBCU, who knew what it was like being at an HBCU, who understands what it's like going to an HBCU, not only as a student, but as a player as well. He said, "Hey, we played in some pretty shitty conditions as well. But you just don't do what Ed Reed did. You wait at least until the ink dries, my guy. I mean, in this whole situation, it was nasty. It was ugly. I wish better. I totally wish better. I wish that there was a better way, and I'll give y'all, like, this is my school right here, Benedict College. I mean, legitimately, air quote, pull themselves up by their bootstraps. But if we want to get mad at anybody, if we want to charge out at anybody, let's take it to the congressmen. Let's take it to your local senators. I mean, here in the state of Georgia, a good friend of mine, John Ossoff, has just donated over $2 million to Morris Brown College. So we talk so much about the bad things that have happened, folks inside and outside of the HBCU space, but yet we don't elaborate on the good, or we don't speak out on the good, or we don't promote what happened that is good. And I'm sorry, but DeAndre Sanders, if you don't get your big teeth having ass up out of here with what you talking about, killings on campus, I should have had like a Mr. Ed Sounder or something like that. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. I can't listen to somebody who can barely say certain things out of your mouth because the veneers are in the way. I'm just saying, oh yeah, and you getting these jokes, you feel me? You getting these jokes. Another thing that you learn at HBCUs is how to roast. You learn how to roast. You know how to come back with some Jones and some jokes and whatnot. But that's the last that I'm gonna say about those things, because I ain't gonna hold you. We had a great weekend outside of all of the malarkey, the rigmarole, the BS. We had a great weekend in sports.
We don't have time for childish games.
Y'all boys don't play Madden?
Okay, except for that one. Keep it locked with the AlphaMale.
All right, so here's how we gonna kick it. All right, let's start off with the Chiefs. Let's start off with the Chiefs versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, Trevor Lawrence, we're gonna see him. Okay. I believe that this kid is great. I believe that this kid is special. I think the entire NFL, along with Jacksonville, did him an extreme disservice as a rookie, bringing Urban Meyer in, who for some reason wanted to bring Tim Tebow in as a tight end. Just didn't make sense. And then on top of that, he was out there sticking and dipping with all the young ladies out there in Jacksonville. So just cutting him completely out. A year later, look what happens. Jacksonville fights and they fight and they fight and they fight. But what got me was, and we could talk about the X's and O's. We could talk about how things happen and how Jacksonville lost the game. But we knew, for me, the number one proponent of them losing the game was inexperience, complete inexperience. Foye Oluokun, who, former Atlanta Falcon linebacker, now linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he is one of the few that has had that type of experience before, playoff time experience before. And so not the entire team, can say that they have that type of experience, but nonetheless, we still give credit to Jacksonville for doing what Jacksonville do. They did what they did. They not only went on a 7 or 8 game win streak to close out the season and then to progress forward in the playoffs ahead of the Chargers. They did a great job. So I have to give my hats off to the Jacksonville Jaguars for doing what they did. I have to give a major shout out to them for just being who they are, man. Shouts out to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hand claps kind of came in a little hot. But what I can say about Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, they are who we thought they were. Okay, we knew exactly who they are, and I will say the game, was pretty eventful. It took a turn for Jacksonville and the Chiefs, which gave Jacksonville some hope when Patrick Mahomes went down in the second half, and you can see the graphicness of the picture on YouTube, but on a play, he got rolled up on. He got rolled up on pretty badly. As we know now, it is a high ankle sprain. It looked as if it was going to be broken, to be honest. But, he left the game late in the second quarter, tried to fight his way back onto the field, which I find to be a little crazy. And, we've talked about players giving up their bodies for the team, if you will, but it was a little weird to see how he wanted to try to go out there just for a half when you have the rest of the playoffs to try to win.
Yeah, I obviously didn't want to go back and see it. I didn't want to go get the x-rays or whatever it was. I wanted just to continue to play. I told him I would do it at halftime, but coach, I mean, in the best interest of me, he made me go back there and get that X-ray before he put me back in the game. And for a while, I thought I could get and play through it. And then he said, "I'm not putting you back in, so you might as well go get the X-ray. And then if it's negative or whatever, I'll put you back in." So I ran back there, got the X-ray, and was able to finish the game.
How are you feeling now?
So, of course, now he's saying that he's feeling a lot better. It's not hurting as much. I'm not sure. Today is Monday, and normally Mondays or the day after games, your body's in a whole lot of pain. So he does have an extra day because they played an early Saturday game, so they have like an extra day and a half prior to having to get back on the field. So I'm sure he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be back. I'm almost certain that he'll be back. But, again, it's just the fact that he took a very ugly, and I'll show it to you again. That is an ugly, that's just an ugly injury to have for players to roll up. And we're seeing it more often in the NFL than not. But yeah, though everybody has crowned the Chiefs as their potential AFC champions and potential Super Bowl champs, I feel that, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs need to make way because I think they finally met their match. I truly believe that they have met their match and enter in Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They beat the Bills this weekend at home. And I want to point out something. I showed on my YouTube page right now, currently, if you're checking me out there, Stephon Diggs. If Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen don't connect, I'm just making it plain. If they are not able to get on the same page, if they're not going to connect, it's going to be a very long day for the Bills defense and offense collectively. Joe Burrow, he is him. Joe Burrow is him. Joe Burrow is him. Let's go to the stats on this game really quickly. All right. Joe Burrow, 23 for 36, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns. Shouts out to Joe Mixon for his running abilities and a great job by the offensive line who lost 2 of their 5 starters. So you lost 2 of your 5 starters and still was able to churn out 100 yards of rushing on the game. 20 carries with 100 yards rushing. That means dude was chunking at least 4 to 5 yards per carry. I mean, it was a great game plan and a good game by the Bengals. Dominated out the gate, 14-0 in the first quarter. You end the half 17-7. And from that point on, they dominated the entire game. You kept them at bay, essentially, at home. And that's just to point out again where the Bengals are in the AFC. Where the Bengals are in the AFC. They might face adversity. They might not get it right at the beginning of the season, which they didn't. No one expected them to jump back into place. We all thought that they were going to have at least somewhat of a Super Bowl hangover. But no, they jumped right back in, got themselves together, got the running game together, got the running attack together. Joe Burrow is still being who he is. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase is who he is. So I'm going to say, I believe that the Chiefs are going to be in trouble being faced with the Bengals. And I honestly feel like the Bengals are going to potentially push to try to get to another Super Bowl. It's the second time in 2 years that they're in the AFC Championship. The Chiefs, this is their 4th in 5 years 5 years straight they've been in the AFC Championship. So I believe that, these two teams are definitely headed into what I think is possibly a crash collision course. To be honest, I think they're going to head to a crash collision course in the AFC Championship, and I'm excited to see that. Now, in my notes, I was definitely talking about the Eagles, right? I wrote down Philadelphia Eagles versus the Giants, right? But I don't know if there's anything to say other than complete dominance. I don't know if there's anything to say other than Jalen Hurts is that man. I don't know anything else to say. This guy has faced adversity. So to say that you're still, the jury's still out on him, I don't understand where you guys are coming from. This guy is him. I really believe Jalen Hurts has the Eagles headed in the right direction. Not for just this year, but years to come. Stout defense. Great cornerbacks. A lot of their sacks come from coverage. You hear the word coverage sack. I'm telling you, the Eagles straight up dominance over the Giants this past weekend, 38-7. 38-7. with most of their points coming in the first half. I mean, my wife and I sat there and watched the game with anticipation. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was nasty. Jalen Hurts, 16 for 24, 154 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Gainwell, 12 carries, 112 yards rushing. Devontae Smith, 6 receptions, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. You do not have to, and this is a message to everybody in the NFL, all the fans, owners, general managers, coaches, and quarterbacks alike. You do not have to throw the ball 47 times in order to win the game. You do not have to throw the ball over 40 times in order to win the game. In my humblest opinion, I feel as though if you control the trenches, you develop a solid run game, you can pass or have the ability to pass, have a good tight end, I feel as though you have the makings of what could possibly be a solid team or a solid offense or a win. Just cut it down to that. A win nonetheless. So there's nothing else for me to really say about the Eagles other than I feel as though they are my favorites to go to the Super Bowl. I'll make my pick with them already. I feel like they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, simple and plain. Going into last night's game versus the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers, you know, everybody's talking about a rivalry renewed. Shouts out to Brock Purdy, who is right now 7-0. He's still undefeated as a starter in the NFL. No other quarterback has done that in his rookie season other than Ben Roethlisberger, who has had a Hall of Fame career with the Pittsburgh Steelers year in and year out. But Brock Purdy has stepped into a situation where you have not one, but 2 starting quarterback top draft picks. Well, let's not say that for Jimmy Garoppolo, but you get what I'm saying. Jimmy Garoppolo was expected to be somewhat of the heir apparent to Tom Brady back when he was with the Patriots, was shipped off to San Francisco, and the rest is just history. Let's just put it like that. Trey Lance, drafted top of his class, was expected to be the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And what ends up happening is he gets injured again. And here comes Brock Purdy, 3rd string, Mr. Irrelevant, and he's winning. He is winning. Now, we can say, oh, it's the defense. Oh, he got Christian McCaffrey. He got Deebo Samuels. And, whatever the hell ever. We know that there are many teams that are one piece away from a Super Bowl. There go the Jets. They're one quarterback away from winning it all. There go the Jets. So we have to understand that you can't discredit a quarterback for the team being good because the quarterback has to also be good. He is a part of the team, isn't he? So with all that being said, we got to address the Dallas Cowboys because I feel as though they are also one piece away. Well, maybe 2. The reason why I say 2 is the quarterback and Jerry Jones. I still feel as though Jerry Jones is extremely delusional as an owner. He's an extreme micromanager as an owner. I really feel as though his management styles as an owner is terrible. Yeah, I don't believe in the Dallas Cowboys because of him. I still feel as though the Dallas Cowboys are cursed because of him, along with the Bills. I feel as though just Dallas, they are faced with so many more adversities outside of what's going on the field. The defense did their job. The defense, you hold somebody as an NFL team to less than 20 points, you have an opportunity to win a game. And just being completely honest, with Dak Prescott playing the way he did, giving up 2 interceptions, it's unacceptable. The first one was just, what the hell are you looking at? But the second one, I can say definitely was a proponent of them trying to force the ball or force feed CeeDee Lamb, consistently force feeding CeeDee Lamb. Check this pick I'm about to send. I'll look for it, brother. But, you know, with the Dallas Cowboys, I think just offensively, it's ridiculous. Ezekiel Elliott, 10 carries for 26 yards. Really? Really? As a starting running back in the NFL, you can only generate 2 yards per carry? And let alone the team just went completely away from the run. Yes, not Zeke, but yes, Pollard did get hurt in the second half. Now we find out that it is a broken bone. So we know that he does have some issues going on right now, but I'm sorry. Dak is the problem. Dak Prescott is the problem. Jerry Jones is the problem. We paid so much attention to the kicker, but I'm sorry, and that's a piece of it. But to be completely honest, Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott, they're the problems. Mike McCarthy, he's a problem too, because what the hell was that last attempt play? What was that? What was that? There were so many ways I can dissect this game. The inability to stop the run, the inability to intercept or take the ball away from Brock Purdy, because it seems as if the San Francisco 49ers didn't have an issue with doing that. And then again, force feeding CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, you have 10 receptions for 117 yards, but for what? You weren't able to get it into the end zone with him. You weren't able to get him the ball in the end zone. For what? But nonetheless, I divulge all of this. I'll talk about a little bit more of this later on in the week in regards to what needs to happen, because as the season wanes, we're going to start to address certain things that teams are going to have to start to deal with. Quarterback, head coach, ownership. I'm just saying, y'all. Whew, I talked myself into a tizzy. I'm about to head up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. The kicker was clutch last night, though. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. The kicker was clutch. Kept him in the game, too, except that first kick. That first one, which was blocked, definitely kept him in the game. Definitely gave them an opportunity to win. And, I mean, just stunk up the place. And then, too, the defense, if you have opportunities to take the ball away, take the damn ball away. Trayvon Diggs, if it falls in your lap, get it. Take it. Take it to the house. Celebrate. But I'm sorry. It's a lot of problems in the Big D. And I'll be honest with you. You got a lot of free agents coming up in the next season. Zeke's not going to be there next year. I hope they re-sign Pollard and get him somebody else in the backfield to make another two-headed monster, to learn how to run the damn ball, because for some reason Dallas wants to just throw it everywhere. It doesn't make sense. You do not have Troy Aikman anymore. You do not have Emmitt Smith anymore. Deion Sanders was only there for a year, 2 years or something like that, however many years he was there. Come on. It's a shame where Dallas has ended up. The last time the Dallas Cowboys was in an NFC championship, my wife was born. That's a shame. But anyway, I digress. Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. I'll talk about it later on in the week. It's AlphaMale Sports, people.
The AlphaMale.
Hmm.